Good morning to you all. Let's have a little update on the plants in the greenhouse. We'll start with this greenhouse. It's mainly mesems, but you've got a few other plants as well. As I say, this has been a very, very hot summer. Well, this month and last month have. In fact, watering has been a necessity to really keep the plants going, and they've plumped up nicely in there, which they have not germinated yet because they've only just gone in. I put in some seeds of Pelospelus nelli. That's off my own plant, which originated from true seed that Terry supplied. Unfortunately, since Terry is no longer with us, great pity, his stock of plants, I don't know what happened to them. I believe they were supposed to be going to someone who would look after them and probably propagate them and collect seeds, because when he was on the seed distribution through the MSG, seeds were very, very good and they were well packed, which unfortunately I can't say the same thing now. In fact, I'm not even going to bother about getting any more seed from them, because as far as I'm concerned, the seed don't germinate, and there's so few now in a packet that well, it's hardly worth it. So that's my feelings on that. It's a great pity, and a great collection which Terry had was presumably broken up. Great pity. But what can we do? Anyhow, let's get on with the plants. We've got a few of them. I had a couple in bloom as well. A good old Glotty in bloom. Police appeals. A nice Echinopsis there. That's been blooming quite well. They have done well this year, so has with all the sunshine. Alright, we had some which haven't done too good. Another Echinopsis there, that's also bloomed well. Most of the Echinopsis you see today are hybrids. A lot have been produced for their fine flowers. Remember the name Paramount hybrids, I think that was one of them, which was produced in the States. Let's wander along a bit further along. Some more Glotties. I quite like Glotties. I tend to water them, but a lot of people tend to keep them rather dry. In fact, the plant we're looking at now is not looking very happy. I think that's Sericlemes. It looks to me like it's come to the end of its life. Unfortunately, a lot of these mesems do have a limited lifespan. When that time's up, the plant either dies or you have to chop it up and restart it. Some more Corydoxus. I'm talking about plants that die. Looks like that was a large limifolia, Walthia limifolia, I think. Always tell it it's got a sort of a skin like a file. This is one due to be broken up, the rest of the plant's dead. Behind it we've got a couple of Aeoniums. This was a variegated form, almost black are the leaves. Further back you've got like a Pachypodium, I think it's Saunders eye. which lost its growing point and it's doing funny things. And at the back there I just noticed, yeah, another dead one. So I'm going to get down here and hook out a couple of the dead plants. No, it's normal. As I say, it's quite normal. Remember many years ago, on some of the trips to the continent, which were very much an exciting event, I visited with a friend a collection in the south of France, Cap St. Ferrat I think it was called, and it was the collection of the owner of Grand Marnier, the liqueur drink, Marnier l'Apostole. I actually met him, a little old gentleman wearing a white coat, multi-millionaire, and his where he was living was a villa, you'd say. It's enormous. His had a private collection of cacti and succulents, and he had a gardener which looked after them, and we were shown round there. I must admit, or thank the person that arranged this, was Cyril Parr. He knew a lot of people in the cactus world at the time, and it was through him that we got this invitation to go to Marnier's place, and it was really a worthwhile trip. And he had some beautiful plants, I may say, in the south of France. Yeah, he's a millionaire, but you know, his money was well spent. Let's further along go. We've got this Ripsella ceruscula. That's getting quite a big plant now. Behind it, what's this called? I never know the name of this plant. Spiralis. Albuca spiralis. Spiralis obviously refers to what the leaves do. That has been in bloom. Behind it we have the two Neohenritica cibettii. The flowers are very small on this, but are they sweet, sweetly scented. Neohenritica cibettii, which is in fact a mesem. Moving a little bit further along, come to a big leafy plant. This is a Pereschia. I don't know the species name. It came from a collector in East London. In fact, I had 3 or 4 plants from him. I lost them, unfortunately. Very careless of me, but there we are. We've got the one left now. It may be Aculeata, but I don't know. It's never flowered for me. So I'll wait and see what happens. It's growing very well at the moment and being well watered. And now I remember trips to the continent. This was before we joined the EU, or the Common Market, whatever it was called. So you needed passports and being stopped at every country border. It was a hell of a job. But then we joined the EU, the best thing we ever did. And travel to Europe was like travelling in England. There was no problem. Got in the car, you drove. You weren't stopped. You just kept going. But now, with our marvellous government, they decided to pull us out of the EU, Brexit, a few years ago. And that is when all this trouble has started. It's now costs a bomb, postage, seeds you're not allowed to have plants it's almost impossible to import. And as regards travelling out there, I reckon it's probably gone back to the old days where you're lining up at borders to get from one country to the other. This was a big mistake we made, and it has upset me a lot. Because you know the continent to me has brought back many memories, and many nurseries we went to, many places we saw. I think I've seen the best part of Europe: Spain, Portugal, Germany, Austria. One thing, I didn't go up on that big wheel in Austria that was featured in The Third Man, a classic film produced just after the war. Well, that wheel was actually built by an English person. I think he built several of these wheels, but the only one that still exists is this famous one at the Prater. I think it's the Prater Park they call it. It's like a fun fair. And it's certainly changed from, if you see it on The Third Man, it's completely changed now, but it's the same wheel. And quite famous. Anyway, I get off the subject again. That is more or less all in this greenhouse. I'll put this up as a separate video. I like to put little anecdotes, little stories in, because to be quite honest, I've seen so many changes in the cactus world, and not necessary changes for the better. As far as I'm concerned, they're for the worst. But anyhow, I've got to have the occasional moan. It wouldn't be me without a little grumble, a little rant. So that concludes the plants in this first greenhouse. We'll go down to another greenhouse in a minute, but I'm going to close this off. Again, thanks for watching. If there are any comments, obviously make, but I thought it made a change from seeing telephones. And it's always nice to see the plants and how they've come on. Oh, particularly, I never showed you this one, my Fokia crisper. I thought I'd lost this. Look at the way it's grown. You look very careful. Let's see if I can find them. You look carefully in there, you'll see buds. This plant's actually covered in buds. Fokia crisper. A large mammillaria. This is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. For some years it was growing on its side, but it was just so heavy I couldn't move it, but I did manage to move it, and doing quite well. So that's more or less all I've got on this greenhouse. We'll have a look, see what we got next. Thanks again. Thank you.